What's good, guys? Got another deck profile for you today. Doing a deck I've been having a lot of fun with. It's an older archetype. It's the starter deck Frieza from the Set 10 starter deck. But I've been having a lot of fun with it, and I just wanted to record an updated profile because I am using a card from the draft box here, Broly Giant Force. So yeah, let's just get into the deck profile. So our leader, so he doesn't let us play any Saiyans in our deck. So that's just one interesting deck building constraint that I kind of enjoy with the leader because it's pretty flavorful, and it means you don't get access to some cards like Great Ape Son Goku and like Paragus Super Combo and some things of that nature. So it does present an interesting deck building challenge, which I enjoy. And then when he attacks a leader card, you can kill one of your Frieza's army cards that you have in play, and then your opponent discards one and you get to take a life. So you get Self-Awakening with your leader, which is a trait I always enjoy. Untap one, draw one for less life, and then on the back he swings, draws a card, and you can also activate main once per turn, kill one of your Frieza's army battle cards, and then discard a random card from your opponent's hand. So that's insanely strong as well. We all know how good random discard can be. And then it also gives your Unison critical for the turn when you do that as well. So much value. Yeah, that's he's a pretty straightforward leader, just a hand control with some deck building traits. So we'll start with the Unison. So we have Broly Giant Force. This is the new card that I'm running. It's got an auto. Choose one card in your hand, discard it. If this card is placed in its owner's drop area from a Unison area during your opponent's turn, play it from the drop area with one marker on it, and you can't play copies of it for the turn, so that just stops you from being able to discard a card to revive it over and over again. This does work with Dodoria, Frieza's Devoted Servant, so if you pitch this, the Unison is still in play when you pitch it, so it sees that there's a Unison in play, then this comes back as well, so you get your free card there. You also have your +1 activate main. You can choose one card from your hand, discard it if you do draw cards. So this is super good value with this deck because we have so many things we want in the drop area. You know, it's like half of the deck wants to be in the drop area, and if we pitch Dodoria, then it comes straight into play. So we're just going up a card for free. Really nice. And then he's got a -4. Choose two cards in your opponent's hand and discard them. This card gets plus 16k power and dual attack for the turn, so he becomes a 25k dual attacker, which you can then give critical with your leader. So that's pretty strong, as well as the two random discards on top of that. This isn't usually what we're playing it for, but you know you can run it out for 5 energy on like turn 5 if you have one, and it can close the game like that. It's pretty strong. Dark Broly is another newer card for the deck. It came out in set 11. We don't have anything to take advantage of the auto to discard extra cards from our opponent's hand. I was running the Dabura before in here, but I decided that it wasn't worth the deck slots for getting the extra discard once per turn every now and then. It felt too inconsistent for the amount of deck slots it took up, so I just ended up cutting that. But it's still insanely strong. It's a 20k double striker, so it becomes a 20k double strike crit with our leader. Upticks to let you discard a card, and then your opponent discards one, and KOs a battle card. Insanely strong combination. You get to board lock and hand lock them. And it also has the fairly useful +1, remove a Unison, a marker from an opponent's Unison, so it also murders opposing Unisons really well between the 0 and the double strike. Mostly using it for the uptick, but hey, I'm not going to complain about having that extra ability there. Again, you can pitch Dodoria or any of your other things that want to be in the drop area and just get immediate value. Healing Pod, this is a Healing Pod variant. I really enjoy playing the Healing Pod variants. I don't know if they're necessarily the best versions of the deck, but they're the versions that I like the most, I have the most fun with. I really like setting up these value engines with Frieza's Army Healing Pod. And this deck is set up pretty well to take advantage of it because we obviously get the Dodoria and the Zarbon on our own turn, but we can also proc it on our opponent's turn using a variety of effects. It works off of the Broly Giant Force if we pitch Dodoria. If we pitch Dodoria to Dormant Potential, or if we pitch Dodoria to Ginyu Captain of the Elite, which is a negate. It's a 1-cost negate if we have a Unison in play, and then when you play it, you choose a green Frieza's Army, 9k power or less from your drop area, put it in your hand, and if you do, you discard a card. So you do that, and you can pick up Dodoria, or if Dodoria is already in your hand, you can pick up a different Frieza's Army card, and then discard Dodoria, and since you'll have a Unison in play already, it'll proc Healing Pod on the opponent's turn, so you can get value on both players' turns and start accruing tons and tons of value with this card. Super useful. We got our main Frieza's army package. It's pretty straightforward. We have Zarbon, Dodoria, and Zarbon and Dodoria. It's just Zarbons and Dodorias all the way down, guys. This guy will tutor the top 5 for well, we can't grab any of the Unisons because they have to be specified cost 2, but it will grab a green Frieza's army cost 4 or less, so that'll be any of the Frieza's armies in the deck besides the counterplay. Unfortunately, it's almost like they knew what they were doing when they designed that. Weird, right? And then the Dodoria has the effect of getting to come into play if we discard it while we have a Unison in play, as well as the insanely good ability of paying a green and picking it back up from our drop area if we have a Unison in play. So this is not limited to once per turn, which is crazy, absolutely crazy. Once you get into the later turns, you can do this multiple times in a turn, pitch it to all of your effects, and then you're never losing any cards on any of that. So you can pitch it to one of your cards, draw a card, or get a Zarbon into play or whatever, and then he comes into play. Frieza's Army Healing Pod procs. You draw a card, then you can pitch it to your leader, make them discard one, and then you can pay a green and get it back, and then to pitch it to another thing. It's just like this crazy value engine loop that you can, just as however much energy you have, you get to get that many cards essentially. Crazy good card, one of the key pieces of the deck for sure, and that's why we have the Zarbon to help tutor that out because we really want to see it. Zarbon also has this pretty useful effect. It doesn't come up super often, but it's really nice to have access to. You can, if it's in your drop area, you can activate battle, and you have a Unison in play, I believe. Yes, if you have a Unison in play, you can activate battle, remove it from your drop area for a green, and pump something for 10k. So it acts as a 10k pump in the drop, which is pretty nice. It's like if he's in your drop area, you have an extra card in your hand, which is great. Dodoria the Cold-Blooded is another Frieza's army card we have in here. He's just a standard double strike 15k for 1 by taking a life. The leader does self-awaken, but it is nice to be able to go a little faster sometimes. So getting that extra life is nice, but also I have him here mostly just to murder opposing Unisons. Getting the double striker for 1 is just too good in the Unison mirrors. So and he's a Frieza's army to boot. So nothing to sneeze at there. Zarbon Cosmic Elite, we know him, we love him. He's insanely good with any of our discard effects. Anything that works in the drop area, and he can help lock our opponent out with Dormant Potential Unleashed by being the blocker to follow up on their second attack they get for the turn. And then rounding out the Frieza's army, we have the Ginyu, which we already went over, and then the Frieza Charismatic Villain, which is your green staple counterplay. Let's moving on here. We got the For the Greater Good. I'm playing 2 of these. These are really nice against Invoker because it makes it so they can't Victory Strike you out of the game as long as you have one in your drop area, which is super clutch because Victory Strike is going to be the main way they kill you in this deck, since it makes this deck puts them really low on resources, so the burn route is a lot less effective against you. They need to manage to keep a bunch of specific cards in their hand, whereas Victory Strike is always a threat. So For the Greater Good, really good there, and it's just a nice extra negate to have. It can pop a 1-drop as well. And can turn... It's extra nice in this deck, actually, because you can turn... You have a lot of clunky cards that don't do a ton in multiples. You have 7 Unisons, and you have Healing Pod as well, so we can turn any of these into a negate later on in the game as well. So, very helpful. I like having 2 in here just to make sure you see it when you want it. Dormant, super good. Nothing to say there. Android 18, we can't play Vegeta the Lone Prince, so this is the next best thing. I sometimes have tried out using a split with this and the Zarbon the Gorgeous, just to have a tutorable super combo that draws you a card, but I like playing to the deck's strengths, which is hand control, and just having this online all the time is really nice. Roshi Kamehameha Origins, grabbing back Dormant, really good. That's pretty much what it's here for. You can also, if your opponent rando discards your Healing Pod, or if you have to pitch it early on, or something, you can get that back as well. Not too bad. I also have an Artificial Impact here, which I'll talk about in just a second. Ribrianne, just playing 3 because we do have a ton of stuff to spend our energy on early. Early. We've got pods and Unisons that we need to get set up to make our effects work, and, looping Dodorias and Zarbons and whatnot. So this is really a pretty late game play, turn 4, turn 5. And by the time you get there, you'll probably have seen 1 or 2. So 3's felt like the right number there. You could play 4 if you really wanted to, but I feel like everything else in here I like the numbers on. So Again, we went over Artificial Impact, so this is the last card in the deck I haven't talked about. This is just a really nice extra card to have access to. I really like just having the one is really nice because there's some decks that it's super good against, like random Height of Mastery decks, or it's really good against Invoker, obviously. Or like if your opponent's playing a cutesy little Jiren deck that's going around, being able to pop their Kunshi Threaded Loyalty is nice. Just being able to get around Barrier is a good ability to have access to. It's the only thing in our deck that gets around Barrier. It's pretty expensive at 3 energy, so we're not going to be using it most games. That's why I just have it as like a techie one of, and obviously if you're playing a side decked game, you'd play extras in the side, and being able to get it back with Roshi. It's a nice extra Roshi target, and the fact that it's not dead in your hand because you can just turn it into combo power is nice as well. So, yeah, that's the deck. It's like really, the numbers are really straightforward for the most part. I'm only playing 3 of these Dark Broly because 8 Unisons is like a ton. It's like really clunky. You also don't even necessarily play it on turn 3 every time, just because if your Bio Broly's still in play, you'll just keep accruing value with that till it dies. Then you can go into Dark Broly. So that's why I'm only playing 3 of those. Everything else is just kind of like maxing out on your staples. The only things I can see different is like if you don't really like this cutesy Artificial Impact, you could do like an extra Zarbon or an extra Ribrianne or something. Or if you feel like this is too many Dodorias, you could maybe trim those down. I just like this for the consistency to make sure you always have a 1 cost to pitch to your leader early on in the game. Yeah, it's the early curve of this deck. It's pretty interchangeable what you can do. It's just some combination of getting a pod, establishing a Unison, and it's pretty much any combination of that while also fitting in like a 1-drop like a Zarbon, or getting a Dodoria out off your Unison or whatever, or using one of these to start using your leader as well. And then you just kind of very slowly grind your opponent out of the game, because we don't have any like huge fast flashy win conditions. Like Dark Broly's our best win condition, which is just a double strike 20k critical, which is like really good but not like super game ending bomb all the time. So this deck's really just, this is one of the grindiest decks I've ever played, but I really enjoy it. Just and a lot of games will go to like turn 7, turn 8, and you're just like slowly like getting 2-for-1s over and over again, and you just eventually run your opponent out of resources. So yeah, that's the deck. It's fun. I've been having a lot of fun with it. Like I said, that's why I wanted to profile it. If you have any questions, comments, hit us up down below in the comment section. Make sure to hit the like button. Subscribe if you're new to the channel as well, and I'll see you in the next video, guys. Bye.